Hi, welcome to day one. Congratulations, the perfect Lord has risen, but we are not perfect. Therefore, let's talk about perfectionism. How does it look like? Well, let me introduce three friends. Gensam is a young wife, and she's constantly complaining to her husband about the way he hangs his clothes in the closet, how he parks the car, and even how he sets his slippers by the bedside. Everything has to be perfect for her, and the husband can't seem to do anything right. He's always on pins and needles. Even though they are not living in the imperial palace of the olden times, but it is always 步步 惊心. That's a tough one. The second person is Sammat. Sammat is a teenage perfectionist. He always feels that his schoolwork and efforts on the sports that he's engaged in is never good enough. He studies for hours and practices for his sports outside his house until very dark. He even goes to some places to perfect his strokes in that sports. And in studies, when he get anything less than a 95, he's crushed. He ends up having migraine headaches. The third person is Sam Dunn. Sam Dunn and his new boss are always butting their heads against one another. Sam Dunn has done work in the same firm for 10 years. And he is fairly set in his ways as how he does things around in the office. But the new boss has come, and with some very perfectionistic and demanding requests. Now, do the above examples have ring any bell in your lives or in the lives of those that are around us? Now let's think through some of the key ideas. Firstly, perfectionism is a disposition to feel that anything less than perfect is unacceptable. This is in fact rooted in the need for control and affirmation. Theologically, perfectionism is the destructive belief that people can be equal to God. Specifically, perfectionistic people think they should be all-knowing, omniscient, all-powerful, omnipotent, and everywhere at once, omnipresent, and generally without human frailty. Perfectionistic people think that they should know everything, and so they beat themselves up for mistakes. They think they should be totally powerful, and they become upset when things are out of their control. They believe they should accomplish the work of 10 people in any given day. And when this is not done, they feel depressed, they get discouraged over what little that they had accomplished that day. Perfectionistic people are idealistic in that they frequently think about how things should be and not how they really are. I mean, you look at this new setting I have here. The lighting is not perfect. The shirt is probably 20 years old, and the hair has nothing on it. But at least there's still hair, and you just have to accept that at this moment, this current time, our current day, this is the best that we have. So perfectionistic people, they are always setting impossibly high goals, which lead to discouragement, failure according to their standard, and ultimately quitting. Can you imagine perfectionistic people yet quitting? They are in fact not that perfectionistic after all. And they are afraid of failure and equate failure to achieve their goals with a lack of personal worth. And they are tied up in the should have of life and require rigid rules. With such overemphasis on the shoulds, perfectionists are rarely uh, able to take into account their own wants and desires. They are in fact product-minded, believing that contentment and happiness and a sense of accomplishments are not permissible until their current project or activity has been completed. The process is overlooked because the end result has not been reached. Thus, there is no joy in the journey. Perfectionistic people feel that they have to be the best at what they do. To simply do one's best is not enough. They have to be the best. They believe their worth is determined by their performance. Since day-to-day performance in various areas of life fluctuates, a perfectionist's sense of worth also fluctuates. Now let's talk about two types of personalities, which we will say type A and type B for today. Type A usually are the very strict people, rigid, and are often called perfectionists. They have a certain way for things to be done, and flexibility is not an option. They need to be on time, have problems with people who are more relaxed with time. They are often described as workaholics and driven. They were probably given conditional love at some time in their lives. That is, only if a standard was met were they rewarded and accepted. They are more likely to suffer heart attacks at an early age than other personality types. Now the second type, type B, which we'll call for today, are usually more laid back, more carefree with their time. They're not so rigid and are considered more flexible in their relationships. They tend to cope with daily stress in a more positive way than type A people. Many references in the Bible use the word perfect. For example, therefore you shall be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. Matthew 5:48. But we need to understand that, help people to understand that perfection is not something God demands from them. God knows we cannot do it alone, or He would not have had to send His Son. And as Christians, we need to be more concerned about our relationship with God, allowing Him to make us perfect. Therefore, He's very much participating in the whole process, even though He said, "You shall be perfect." Let God do His molding in you. He's more concerned with the relationship than being with perfectionists. A perfect heart will do more to ensure and to protect a life of healthy relationships and a good self-worth than any perfectionist rigid schedule or ways will. We close with a quote. Perfectionists need to find their worth not in what they do or how well they do it, but in being God's creation. Chris Thurman. And a verse, Philippians 1:6, being confident of this very thing, that he who began a good work in you will complete. He will complete it until the day of Jesus Christ. Philippians 1:6. See you for day 2.